Hey, how's it going, Trevor? How are you today?
Hey, welcome back, Joe Craft Beer. It's been what, 6 weeks? Yeah, it's been a while. Sorry about that. Can I get another one of those blonde ales? Those were pretty good. Yeah, no worries, my friend. Welcome back. I'll grab you one of those right now. Cheers. Awesome, thanks. Cheers. That tastes different. Did you guys put on a new batch?
You boys and your damn draft beer. That stuff will give you headaches.
That's actually a myth, old timer, and let me explain it to you. Sorry about that, Joe. Let me get that replaced. Welcome back to Trevor's Brew Diaries. What you just saw play out was a scene that could be just about any bar in the world. Draft beer, there's myths, there's stigma. Draft beer is probably the freshest you'll get it. And draft line cleanliness and tap cleanliness is very important. Something that happens is there's calcium oxalate, which is beer stone, and it's calcium oxalate and protein make beer stone. Beer stone will travel down the lines and grab a hold of any pores that are in the line itself. Once that grabs a hold, it's like a barnacle, and then some microbials will jump in, they'll grab a hold of that, and they'll start growing, and you're going to start getting off flavors in your beer. There's some states that require your beer lines to be cleaned every 4 weeks. The Brewers Association recommends every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, that's when you start to see that growth happening. So what you have to do is you run water through your line, and then after your water's flushed, you'll run a caustic acid of some sort to remove all the beer stone. Then you flush your line with a sanitizer, and then flush it out again with some beer. And you're going to want to do that every 2 weeks. The other things you're going to want to watch for is, I have some props here. This is what a bad beer line looks like. So this I pulled out of an old kegerator. And you can see here that, they didn't clean their tap line. Obviously it was out of service for a while, so a lot of this is just from being out of service. This is what your draft line should look like, nice and clear and clean. This is the gas portion of it. Your taps, there's several different types of taps. Some of your taps these are tap-right taps, and not that there's anything wrong with them, but they are subject to, right here in the front, it moves in and out, so if the seals go bad, you could introduce microbials that way. Microbials are everywhere in the air. Microbials are everywhere in the air, on your body, they're on just about everything. They're not harmful in low doses. Once they start gathering in the community and they start partying in beer lines, that's when they're going to start creating off flavors. And like the old man was saying, draft beer will give you a headache. Draft beer will give you a headache if you don't clean your draft lines and tap lines. It's not the draft beer itself, it's the microbials. So you want to take care of those. Back to these taps. These taps, you can tap-right taps, or there's all kinds of other brands. We use these for quite a while. They start getting worn, the parts get worn. This is the internals of the tap. This moves back and forth, lets the beer in and out. So those will get worn, the parts will come, start losing their chrome plating, stuff like that. We recently switched, we're starting to switch over to a sealed perlic tap. It just helps keep the beer cleaner, stuff like that. What you're going to want to do is make sure that you wipe down your taps each night and keep the beer foam off the tap as you're filling. That's super important. So as a craft beer drinker, when you walk into a bar, look at this button. If it's this style tap, look at this button. If it's dark, chances are that it hasn't been cleaned in a while. And don't be afraid to ask how often you guys get your beer lines cleaned. Like I said before, some states require the distributor to clean your taps. Here in Ohio, it is up to the bar owner and brewery. Our brewery cleans our taps every 2 weeks religiously. It has to be recorded for the Department of Health and all kinds of wonderful things. But most importantly, it's every brewer like myself wants to make sure that you're getting the best experience out of craft beer. So I want your beer to be delivered to you the freshest and cleanest that it could be. I work tirelessly on cleaning the brewery, making sure everything's sterile, and everything we do inside the brewery keeps the microbials out. So, you know, I don't want it in the tap lines or tap and then getting served to you. So it's very important to a brewer, nice clean beer. Now, don't be discouraged. Don't think that when you go somewhere and you try a beer and it doesn't taste the same. There's also other factors that come into play. How they store the beer, if it's not kept cold all the time, if it's, you know, old or aging, especially with IPAs, you know, your hops start to turn after a while. So there's other factors that come into play. If you get a beer and it doesn't taste like you've had it before, then there's other factors that come into play, but one of them is draft line cleanliness. So make sure that you're getting the best beer you can possibly get. So if you're a bar owner, please do your diligence and make sure that the lines are clean, the taps are clean, your beer is stored properly, because you don't want to ruin it for the next craft beer drinker or any beer drinker. Also, something that you want to keep in mind is as a home brewer, beer stone not only builds up on tap lines and taps, but also on equipment. So even though you're scrubbing the hell out of that thing and you're washing it and sterilizing it, beer stone takes usually a caustic acid to remove it. So if your brewing equipment is starting to look like a white hazy color, that's beer stone, and there's ways to take care of it. You don't have to throw your stuff out and buy new. So cheers, here's to clean beer, happy brewing. Thanks, man, I appreciate that. And thank you very much for the explanation. Now I know what to look for when I go and drink craft beer at other places.
Hogwash, you boys and your science.